Okay, so welcome and thank you for joining us today. Out of respect for your time, we'll go ahead and begin. As always, I welcome the few homeowners who are here with us today. We encourage you to glean as much as you can from this presentation and keep in mind that the slides were created for our partner organizations. We look forward to hosting more webinars specifically for homeowners in the coming months. If you need application assistance or have program questions, our call center is open and ready to take your call. That number is 888-303-4324, and I'll also place that number in the chat. Everyone has been muted for this presentation. However, we invite your questions and comments through the chat. They will be answered during the presentation as well as at the end during a Q&A period. If we do not get to your questions this afternoon, or your questions are specific to an individual situation or case number, we'll be sending out a follow-up email that will capture the Q&A and provide referrals as needed. This presentation is being recorded. Please be respectful and considerate of others on the webinar while providing comments through the chat. The recording and PowerPoint will also be shared in the previously mentioned follow-up email, as well as on the DE Mortgage Help website. Today, you'll hear from members of the Mortgage Relief Program team and myself. I am Lori Jacobs, Director of Public Relations, and by the end of this presentation, we hope you feel informed and ready to share the program with those that you serve. The agenda will include an update on the program launch, details on marketing and outreach efforts, as well as a brief update on the ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan Act funds, which were announced by the governor last week. There will also be ample time for question and answer. So the program has been open to all Delawareans for about 3 weeks now. During this time, we have seen a steady flow of applications being submitted. The main hardship experienced by these applicants are reduced hours and wages, as well as increased healthcare costs. Significant program participation has occurred in Newcastle and Kent County, is where we are seeing a majority of our applications. We are working on a program dashboard, which is being created and will be available to the public via the DE Mortgage Help website. The dashboard will capture the following information and more. So amount distributed in total by the program, the average amount of assistance, the number of households assisted, types of assistance distributed, including mortgage, utility, HOA, etc., as well as break down the numbers by assistance by county and zip code. We'll also share some demographic information, including households assisted by area median income, race, and ethnicity. I'll also be placing a few sample dashboards in the chat, just as an example of what you can expect to see. And I will see if our team, Reg or Stephanie, have anything to add on this slide.
No, I don't have anything else to add. Thank you, Lori.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome, awesome. So as mentioned during our last call, we are still working and encouraging loan servicers to participate in the onboarding process. An application cannot be completed and payment cannot be made without this step occurring. As of last week, we have 33 servicers who have been fully onboarded and about 55 who are in the process currently. And I will now pass it back to Reg to talk through providing a portfolio analysis as well as collaboration on outreach initiatives.
Thank you, Lori. And this really does tie into the previous slide. While it's important to be able to monitor where assistance is delivered within the state, that begins with identifying where delinquency is within the state. And mortgage servicers who are willing and able to analyze their servicing portfolio to help the state get a sense of not just what the delinquency looks like, but where that delinquency is, can do two things that are significant and meaningful on behalf of the program. One, you can do outreach to those consumers directly, making them aware of the program and the possibility that it may be able to assist them in finding a resolution to their financial difficulties. But secondly, you can help the state by providing that information regarding the geography so that as marketing efforts are made, they can be more targeted in those areas or to individuals that service those areas in order to ensure the best that we can that people in need of the assistance are aware of the assistance and how to apply for the assistance. So portfolio analysis giving us a sense of delinquency, marketing outreach efforts collaboratively, communicating with consumers, and then sharing that information specifically with the state so that they can do all that we can in order to target that marketing is extremely helpful and much appreciated. And then lastly, we know that every state and territories and tribes have some of this funding. And so it means mortgage servicers are inundated, not just with the delinquency that they're charged with servicing as a normal part of their day-to-day operation, but the interaction with all of these programs to help facilitate assistance to those consumers across the nation. And so while we appreciate that, it is helpful if you can give us feedback earlier rather than later in terms of approximate turn times to get participation agreements back, as well as the same thing with marketing efforts, because communication helps us all get a better sense of what we can expect and what we need to do in order to achieve what we look to. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Reg. So on the homeowner side, from this first few weeks of full program launch, we are seeing the following sort of issues occur and the following holdups on applications. The first being that applicants include their net income on the application when program eligibility is determined by gross income. And this is something we'll continue to communicate in various different ways for those who are interested in applying. And then second, the applicant must be delinquent by at least 30 days on their mortgage statement. I'll pass it back to Reg and Stephanie to talk through this a little bit more, but this is a key one that we are seeing, whether that's through the phone, on social media, and then in the application portal.
Again, a great point, Laura, and I'll add just a little color, starting with the delinquency. Oftentimes when people are late, they just think I'm delinquent because I'm late, whether it's a day or 7 days or 10 days. Some tend to think of being late when they've hit the end of their grace period, maybe 10 to 15 days when they'll receive a late fee. But from a programmatic perspective, late or delinquent is a full 30 days. And so we're doing all that we can in order to stress the emphasis of that distinction so that people don't presume themselves to be eligible and then become frustrated when they realize 10 days late is not eligible. It must be 30 days late. But additionally, that's where servicers can be helpful to us in the outreach to their portfolio that for consumers that are in that range, as well as the messaging to consumers who might just be late in that most state programs require a 30-day delinquency. I know that can vary. And so if the messaging simply says, check with your state in order to ensure or confirm the delinquency, it would be extremely helpful to do two things. One, hopefully refine the applications coming through. And two, to properly set the expectation of consumers making applications. On the income piece, it's just a harder one. People tend to think, I can only spend what I get. That's my net, not my gross. And so even if you tell them, they can be frustrated or look past the fact that the program does look at gross income. However, it's still helpful and appropriate to stress that. So again, that proper expectations can be set.
I would also like to kind of circle back a little bit to the 30-day delinquency piece. One other thing that has come up a few times, and so we just would like to offer a bit more clarification, is that we have had a few homeowners reach out about getting assistance, but they've actually already gone through a modification process with their lender. So they are technically no longer delinquent. So they were trying to get assistance for that delinquency that they did have previously, but they technically no longer have because of those modification efforts. So that is something that we have seen a few times. And if a homeowner has already successfully gone through and finalized a modification, then they're no longer delinquent, so they would not be eligible for the program. And it's great that they've been able to achieve that. That's the goal of all of this. So it's a wonderful thing, but we just want to make sure that that's clarified a bit.
Yeah, great. That's a great point. Oftentimes, applicants or homeowners, and if there's any on the call as we interact with them, will think their partial claim, which may be as an FHA loan or a VA loan, should or would be eligible for this assistance, but it's not. As Stephanie stated, it's resolved delinquency and therefore it's not eligible. So thank you, Stephanie, for highlighting.
Great, great. So I will pause here to see if we have any questions about the launch, about advice for loan servicers, or advice for homeowners. If you do have a question, please feel free to put them in the chat or Q&A box at this time.
Well, hey, thanks, Lori. I wanted to mention another thing along those lines regarding servicer and servicer participation, because we've had some conversations with servicers who had some questions or concerns regarding the agreements. And it is, for the most part, the standard template that was produced by NCSHA. However, there are some state-specific things in there, I'm sure, and I'm thinking of a servicer in particular as this comes to mind. But I would draw to your attention and encourage you to draw to the attention of those you work with and or for that the participation agreement has a clause that allows for the termination of the agreement with a 30-day notice, right? And so the ideal isn't to trick anyone, right? We're here to help. And so if there's concern, I would encourage one to say, okay, we can sign the agreement and then see how that goes regarding a matter. And if that doesn't go as we expect or have been led to believe, then we can terminate participation, but not delay the execution of the agreement while trying to work through some maybe immaterial or non-consequential issues in the agreement because you're mindful there's an opportunity contained in the agreement to terminate the relationship with simply a 30-day notice. And transactional approvals are just that, transactional. So there's no universal approval. So there's really nominal, if any, risk at all to signing the agreement.
Okay. So seeing no questions, we will move on to the next section, which is just an overview of the planned marketing and outreach activities for this program. The first being a quick discussion on our digital campaign. So when a homeowner completes the application, they are asked how did they hear about this program, and so far we are seeing a significant amount saying that they are hearing about this through digital ads. So that is something we will be leaning into given this data. We have a social media campaign as well as paid social media ad strategy. We'll be working on an email newsletter campaign as well that will complement the social media campaign. We also have our demortgagehelp.com website in which we will continually drive homeowners to for resources and information on submitting their application, their process, and even follow up when it comes to testimonials from the program. We'll also be producing videos from both the homeowner as well as the loan servicer side, just on some application tips and tricks, some information about Delaware's program in particular and hope to roll those out on social media as well as on television commercials. Um, we're very excited to be partnering with DETV to promote the Mortgage Relief Program, as well as partnering with some of our radio stations in Kent and Sussex County, including Spanish speaking radio stations, in order to make sure we're reaching all populations and language types. You can expect to start hearing those towards the end of the month. In terms of how you can help, and we would really appreciate your help in spreading the word about this program, is to continue sharing our social media posts on your own organization pages. We're also happy to provide social media copy and graphics to you as well. You can email me. I'll place my email in the chat if that is something that you're interested in. The social media copy is also the same for email. We can send you a quick little blurb to include in one of your upcoming email newsletters, or we can come up with some links or longer language if you'd like to include that as well. As always, we want to drive constituents back to the DE Mortgage Help website. This is where we have the most application resources and the most up-to-date information. And then just also for your knowledge, this is where the dashboard will be housed as well. And our department loves feedback. We love suggestions. So also please feel free to reach out to us if you need flyers, if you do need social media posts, anything along those lines. Just a quick overview of our print activities. As I mentioned, we have flyers. They are available on the website for you to download and print in your own shops if that is of interest to you. We are also happy to print some for pickup at our Dover office. And again, I will place the flyer links in the chat so that you can download them at any time. We are also creating some fact sheets about area median income because we did receive some feedback about confusion when it came to income levels or income eligibility. So we are working on a one-pager just explaining what AMI is, why it's important, and more specifically laying out the AMI for each county so that there is no confusion about whether someone is income eligible for this program. In terms of outdoor print materials, we are focusing heavily on outdoor signage, which we will mainly do through the use of yard or lawn signs. You can expect to see those towards the end of August in neighborhoods. We do want to get them out because it is also, as you know, an election year in Delaware. So we want to make sure that they don't get mixed in with the election lawn signs that will soon to be coming. Again, feel free to request these resources from us, whether that's via email, hard copy, digital, whatever we can do to help you spread the word and fit into your existing outreach activities. And I will say that the flyers and all of our print materials will be translated into both Spanish and Haitian Creole. We will also be hosting virtual and in-person information sessions, very similar to the one we're on right now for partners, but also for homeowners. Those will take place on weekends as well as weeknights to accommodate the homeowner schedule. And we look forward to attending partner and community events as well. Where we could really use your help and your brainstorming and all of your fantastic ideas is around offering in-person sessions in multiple languages as well. That is something that we want to prioritize and something that we want to make sure is happening. So if you do know anyone who can translate a session, whether that's in person or virtual, please let me know. Again, I'll place my email in the chat, and that is something we do plan on doing for our events. So I'll pause again to see if there are any questions overall, again, about the program or about marketing or outreach efforts. Okay, so seeing none, I will now turn the floor to Stephanie to provide a brief update on the American Rescue Plan Act funds that were announced through the governor's office last week.
Thanks, Lori. As Lori just mentioned, we did receive an allocation of American Rescue Plan dollars from the state, and they were announced last week. We would just like to give you a bit more detail about the proposed programs, and to kind of give you an overview and to keep you up to date and just let you know when to expect more information. So the first program is the Catalyst Fund. This program will focus on the creation and preservation of affordable home ownership opportunities through the acquisition and rehabilitation of vacant homes within Delaware neighborhoods. So these funds will be administered in partnership with CNAIR, which is a certified community development financial institution, a CDFI, that will also offer lending options for community development construction. This program is expected to launch in the summer of 2022. We do anticipate stakeholder and public information sessions beginning in the next few weeks, so please be on the lookout for those announcements. The second program that's under this umbrella is the Market Pressure Relief Fund. This program is going to focus on relieving economic cost pressures that are currently facing Delaware's affordable housing development community. So this program is intended to provide additional financing to owners of affordable multifamily rental projects that are currently under construction in partnership with DSHA. And these will have faced construction cost increases due to supply chain disruptions and inflation. The third program is the Accelerator Fund. It is expected to launch in the fall of 2022. And the goal of this program is to leverage this once in a generation funding, to unlock Delaware's affordable housing development potential. So the Accelerator Fund will provide an incentive to market rate rental developers with planned construction projects to provide affordable rental units in their new or renovated properties. The developer will receive an upfront payment from DSHA funded through the ARPA funds to help offset construction costs. And as part of that funding agreement, the developer will commit to an affordable monthly rent for a specified number of units in a project that would otherwise have been exclusively market rate. This new program will also provide additional funds for traditional affordable rental developers that qualify for the federal low-income housing tax credit program that is also administered by DSHA. And finally, we have the Preservation Fund, which is expected to launch in the spring of 2023. And this program is going to focus on ensuring continued affordability in Delaware's existing affordable housing stock. So these funds will offer financial incentives to ensure nearly 1,000 existing affordable rental units will remain in the affordable rental inventory rather than converting to market rate rentals as soon as those restrictions are lifted. So that is just a quick overview. We just ask that you keep your eyes open and your ears open because there will be more announcements forthcoming about these programs very soon.
Yes, thank you, Stephanie. And I will also add that the feedback sessions or the public information sessions for the Catalyst Fund are scheduled for July 26th in the morning and July 27th in the afternoon. I can place the registration links to those information sessions in the chat as well. And the best place to receive more updates about each of these four funds is on the DSHA website, so destatehousing.com, or by signing up to our Highlights weekly email newsletter, which I'm sure many of you receive because that is also our primary mode of communication for these calls as well. And so with that, that brings us to the end of our presentation. Our August monthly partner call, we will share registration details at a later date, most likely in the follow-up email you'll receive with this webinar recording, these slides, as well as the links that have been placed in the chat. In the meantime, we thank you so much for attending and thank you so much for your partnership. Please continue to share all of our resources as they are rolled out. And for those who are interested in becoming a homeowner representative, the trainings are still occurring through our portal vendor Yardi. These occur every Wednesday at 1 p.m. This is a good way to sort of get a sense of what the portal looks like, of what documents are required, on what the upload button looks like, what different pages are involved in the application. So this is definitely a huge resource and encourage you to try and attend at least one. And then for our amazing housing counselors, more information on an RFP for partnership opportunities will be coming soon. And before we end, I will just open it up one last time for questions, which can be placed in the chat or Q&A. Okay, so seeing none, we can go ahead and end this webinar. Thank you again for attending, and we'll be in touch very soon. Enjoy the afternoon.